This is my true story. My daughter died in a fire 18 years ago. I identified her body at the morgue. I scattered her ashes at Lake Michigan because she loved the water more than anything in this world. Her phone number stayed saved in my contacts because erasing it felt like killing her twice. Last week, my phone rang at 3:22 inches the morning. Her name lit up the screen. Emma, my dead daughter was calling me. I answered. A woman's voice whispered, "Daddy, I'm so cold. Why did you leave me?" It was her. My little girl who burned to death 18 years ago was calling me, confused, frightened, asking why I abandoned her. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me where you're watching from, and subscribe so this story reaches everyone who needs to hear it. 18 years ago, I lost my daughter in a house fire on Christmas Eve. She was 23 years old. She had just graduated from nursing school. She was staying at her boyfriend's apartment because they were planning to drive to my house together on Christmas morning. I was a widower. My wife had passed from cancer when Emma was 16. After that, it was just me and my girl against the world. She was everything to me. My reason for breathing. My reason for getting up every morning. The fire started at 2:47 inches the morning. A space heater malfunctioned in the living room. The apartment was old, built in the 1960 seconds, with no working smoke detectors. By the time the neighbors saw flames shooting through the windows, the entire building was engulfed. 7 people died that night. My daughter was one of them. I got the call at 4:15 inches the morning on Christmas Day. I was wrapping her present, a silver necklace with a small heart pendant. She had pointed it out at a jewelry store 3 months earlier, and I had gone back secretly to buy it for her. When the phone rang, I thought it was her calling to say Merry Christmas early. I answered with a smile on my face. A detective told me there had been a fire. He told me my daughter's name was on the lease of one of the apartments. He told me I needed to come to the county morgue immediately. I don't remember driving there. I don't remember parking. I just remember standing in a cold room with fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, staring at a body covered by a white sheet. The fire had taken almost everything. Her face was unrecognizable. Her hands were burned beyond identification, but they found her purse in the hallway near the stairwell. Her driver's license was inside, partially melted but readable. Emma Rose Patterson. My daughter. They asked me to confirm based on height, approximate age, a birthmark on her left ankle that somehow survived the flames. I said yes. I said it was her. I signed papers. I made arrangements. I planned a funeral for Christmas week, while the rest of the world celebrated with their families. The service was small. Emma had many friends, but most of them were traveling for the holidays when it happened. Maybe 30 people came. My sister flew in from Seattle. A few of Emma's nursing school classmates attended. Her boyfriend, Tyler, was still in the hospital with third-degree burns over 40% of his body. He couldn't come. He survived the fire by jumping from a second-story window. My daughter didn't make it to the window. I didn't cry at the funeral. I couldn't. My body had shut down. I moved through the motions like a robot. I accepted condolences. I shook hands. I nodded when people said she was in a better place. I wanted to scream that she wasn't supposed to be in any place, except here with me, opening presents and laughing at my terrible jokes, and burning the Christmas cookies like she did every year because she was a wonderful nurse but a terrible baker. After the service, I had her cremated. It was what she wanted. She had told me once, years earlier, that she didn't want to be buried underground in the dark. She wanted to be free. So I took her ashes to Lake Michigan on New Year's Day. The water was frozen at the edges. Snow covered the beach. I walked out onto a small pier and scattered her into the wind. Some of the ashes drifted onto my coat. I didn't brush them off for weeks. For 18 years, I lived in a fog. I sold the house where we had lived together. Too many memories. I moved to a small apartment in Grand Rapids and worked at the same accounting firm until I retired 3 years ago. I never remarried. I never dated. I never wanted anyone except my wife. And after she died, I never wanted anyone except my daughter. With both of them gone, I had nothing left to want. I kept Emma's phone number in my contacts. The account was canceled within months of her death, but I couldn't delete her name. Every year on her birthday, I would call it just to hear the recording say the number was disconnected. It became a ritual, a way to mark the passage of time, a way to acknowledge that another year had passed without her. I visited the site where the apartment building once stood. They tore it down 2 years after the fire and built a strip mall. A pizza place now sits where my daughter took her last breath. I went there once. I ordered a slice. I couldn't eat it. I just sat in a booth and stared at the floor, wondering if any trace of her still existed in the concrete beneath my feet. Life became routine. Wake up, coffee, television, grocery store, sleep, repeat. I wasn't living. I was just waiting to die so I could see her again. My doctor said I was depressed. He prescribed pills. I took them for a while, then stopped. The pills made me forget her face, and I would rather feel pain than forget her. Then, last week, everything changed. It happened on a Tuesday night, December 17th, 8 days before Christmas, 18 years and 2 days after the fire that killed her. I was asleep in my recliner. I'd fallen asleep watching the late news, something I did most nights because my bedroom felt too empty. My phone sat on the side table next to my reading glasses. At 3:22 inches the morning, it rang. The sound jolted me awake. Nobody called me at that hour. Nobody called me at any hour, really. My sister checked in once a month. My former coworkers had stopped reaching out years ago. I fumbled for my glasses and looked at the screen. The name said Emma. Her contact photo stared back at me. A picture from her nursing school graduation. Cap and gown. Biggest smile I'd ever seen. Alive, whole, beautiful. I stopped breathing. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought I was having a cardiac arrest. This couldn't be real. Her number had been disconnected for 18 years. I'd called it myself dozens of times. It always went to that same recording. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. But now it was calling me. The phone kept ringing. 5 times, 6 times. My thumb hovered over the answer button. My hands shook so violently I could barely hold the device. What if it was a scam? What if someone had gotten her old number reassigned? What if I answered and heard a stranger's voice? On the 7th ring, I pressed the button. I lifted the phone to my ear. Silence. Complete silence. Not even static. Just dead, empty air. Then I heard breathing. Slow, shallow. The breathing of someone who was struggling. My throat locked up. I tried to say hello. No sound came out. Then a voice spoke. A woman's voice. Weak, confused, terrified. Daddy. One word. That was all it took to destroy me. Daddy, I'm so cold. Why did you leave me? It was her. I knew my daughter's voice better than I knew my own heartbeat. I had heard it every day for 23 years. I had heard it in my dreams every night for 18 years after. This was Emma. Not a recording, not an imitation. Her. Emma? I finally managed to whisper. Her name came out broken, shattered. Daddy, where am I? I don't understand. Everything hurts. Everything is dark. I keep calling for you, but you don't come. My vision blurred. Tears poured down my face. I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. Baby, where are you? I said. Tell me where you are. I'll come right now. I'll find you. I don't know, she said. Her voice cracked. I woke up somewhere strange. I don't remember how I got here. I remember the fire. I remember the smoke. I remember screaming for you. Then nothing. And now I'm here, and I'm scared, and you're not here. I stood up from my recliner. My legs buckled. I caught myself on the armrest. Emma, listen to me. You need to tell me where you are. Look around. Is there an address? A sign? Anything? She was crying now. Deep, broken sobs that reached through the phone and tore my heart apart. I tried to leave, she said between sobs. But the door won't open. And when I look out the window, I see things that don't make sense. Buildings that shouldn't be there. Cars that look wrong. Daddy, what year is it? Her question hit me like a physical blow. It's 2025, I whispered. December 2025. Silence on the other end. Long, Horrifying silence. "No," she finally said. "No, that's impossible. It was just Christmas Eve. It was just 2007. I was going to drive to your house in the morning. I was going to give you the sweater I knitted. How can it be 2025? How did I lose 18 years? I didn't have an answer. I didn't have words. My dead daughter was on the phone, somehow alive, somehow trapped, 18 years out of place. I'm coming to find you," I said. "I don't know how, but I'm going to find you. Just stay on the line. Keep talking to me." But even as I said it, the connection started to break. Static, crackled. Her voice faded in and out. "Daddy, can't hear. Please don't leave me again. Please." The line went dead. I stared at my phone. The call timer showed 4 minutes and 18 seconds. I immediately called back. The recording played. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I called again. Same message. I called 15 more times. Same message every time. My daughter had just called me from beyond the grave, and now she was gone again. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days. I barely ate. I barely drank water. I sat in my apartment, clutching my phone, waiting for it to ring again. I replayed the call in my mind 1,000 times. Her voice, her words, the confusion, the fear. She sounded exactly like she did when she was scared as a child and came running to me after a nightmare. "Daddy, I'm so cold." Those words haunted me. She had died in a fire. Fire is hot. But she said she was cold. She said everything was dark. What did that mean? I started researching. I Googled everything I could think of. Phone calls from the dead. Disconnected numbers calling. Supernatural communication. Most of it was nonsense. Ghost stories and horror fiction. But some of it made me pause. Stories from real people who claimed to have received calls from deceased loved ones. Usually right after death. Usually just static or a few garbled words. But Emma had been dead for 18 years. And she had spoken clearly. She had asked questions. She had engaged in conversation. This was different. On the 4th day, at 3:22 inches the morning exactly, my phone rang again. "Emma," I answered before the first ring finished. "Emma," I said immediately. "I'm here. I'm listening. Daddy." Her voice sounded stronger this time, less confused. "I found something. I found an address. I don't know if it will help, but there's mail here. Letters addressed to someone. The name isn't mine, but the address is on the envelope." My heart pounded. I grabbed a pen from the side table. "Tell me," I said. "Read me the address." She spoke slowly, carefully. 1847 Riverside Court, Apartment 12, Springfield, Illinois. I wrote it down. My hand trembled. Springfield was 4 hours from Grand Rapids. Drivable. Reachable. "I can be there in 4 hours," I said. "Stay where you are. Don't move." "I don't think I can move," she said. "Something is wrong with me, Daddy. When I look in mirrors, I see someone else, someone older. I don't recognize my own reflection. And people here, when I try to talk to them, they look right through me. Like I'm invisible. Like I don't exist." "You exist," I said firmly. "You're talking to me. That means you exist." She laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was hollow, broken. "Then why does everything feel like a dream? Why does nothing make sense? Why do I remember dying?" "I don't know," I said. "But I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find you. I promise. Daddy, before you come." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I need to tell you something. I'm not alone here. There's someone else. A woman. She looks like me, but she's not me. She goes to work and comes home and sleeps in the bed I wake up in, but she doesn't see me. I watch her, and she has no idea I'm here. Who is she? What is this place?" The line went dead again. I tried calling back. Same recording. Same dead end. I didn't wait for morning. I grabbed my coat and my wallet and got in my car. I started driving toward Springfield at 3:47 inches the morning. 4 hours. Maybe less if I pushed it. The highway was empty, dark. Snow flurries danced in my headlights. I drove 90 miles an hour. I didn't care about tickets. I didn't care about anything except reaching that address. My daughter was somewhere in Springfield, Illinois, somehow alive, somehow trapped. I was going to find her or die trying. I arrived at 1847 Riverside Court at 7:34 inches the morning. The building was a modern apartment complex. 4 stories, brick and glass, well maintained, nothing unusual, nothing sinister. Apartment 12 was on the 2nd floor. I found the door and stood in front of it for a full minute. My heart hammered. My palms sweated. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder. The door opened. A woman stood in the doorway, mid-30s, brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, green eyes, athletic build. She wore scrubs, nursing scrubs. She stared at me with confusion. "Can I help you?" I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. Because I was looking at my daughter, not the 23-year-old girl I remembered. A woman now, older, with lines around her eyes and a different hairstyle and a wedding ring on her finger. But her face, her eyes, the shape of her jaw, the small mole beneath her right ear. It was Emma. "Sir?" The woman's voice sharpened. "Are you okay? Do you need medical help?" My legs gave out. I grabbed the doorframe to keep from falling. "Emma," I whispered. Her face changed. Confusion mixed with something else. Fear, maybe, or recognition she didn't understand. "My name isn't Emma," she said carefully. "My name is Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. I think you have the wrong apartment." I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. I opened my photos. I scrolled to the picture of Emma at her graduation. I turned it toward the woman. "Look at this," I said. "Look at her face. Tell me you don't see it." She looked. Her expression shifted. Her mouth opened slightly. She took a step backward. "Where did you get that picture?" she asked. Her voice was strange now, shaky. "This is my daughter," I said. "Emma Rose Patterson. She died in a fire 18 years ago, in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I identified her body. I scattered her ashes. But she called me, twice, from a disconnected phone number. She gave me this address. She said there was a woman who looked like her living here." The woman's face had gone white. "That's impossible," she whispered. "That picture, that's me. That's exactly what I looked like when I was younger. Before the accident, before I lost my memory." My world tilted. "What accident?" I demanded. "What do you mean you lost your memory?" Her hand went to her forehead. She pressed her palm against it like she was fighting a headache. "I don't remember anything before I was 24, she said. "I woke up in a hospital in Chicago on Christmas Day in 2007. Third-degree burns over 30% of my body. No ID, no wallet. No one ever came looking for me. I was a Jane Doe for 6 months. When I was released, social services helped me start over. I chose the name Sarah Mitchell. I built a life from nothing because I had nothing." "The fire," I said. "The Christmas Eve fire. There were 7 victims, 7 bodies." She nodded slowly. "That's what they told me. That's where they found me. The only survivor from that floor. Everyone else died. But I don't remember any of it. I don't remember who I was before." I reached into my wallet. I pulled out the only photo I carried every day. Emma at age 16, standing on the beach at Lake Michigan, with her mother beside her. Both of them smiling. Both of them gone, or so I thought. I handed it to her. She looked at the photo. Her hand started shaking. She made a sound. Not a scream, not a cry. Something deeper, something primal. "That's me," she whispered. "Oh my God, that woman beside me. I dream about her. I dream about her face, and I never understood why. Who is she?" "That's your mother," I said. "My wife, Grace. She died when you were 16. Cancer. Sarah. Emma. Whatever her name was." She dropped to her knees right there in the doorway. Tears streamed down her face. "Daddy?" She said it quietly, tentatively, like she was testing the word, like she wasn't sure it belonged to her. I fell to my knees in front of her. I pulled her into my arms. I held my daughter for the first time in 18 years. We stayed like that for a long time, both of us crying, both of us shaking. The neighbors walked past us in the hallway and stared, but neither of us cared. My daughter was alive. She had been alive all along, living 4 hours away under a different name, with no memory of who she really was. Eventually, we moved inside. She made coffee. We sat at her kitchen table. She told me everything. She woke up in the hospital on Christmas Day, 2007, with no memory. 3rd-degree burns, smoke inhalation. She was in a coma for 2 weeks. When she woke, the doctors asked her name. She didn't know. They asked about family. She didn't know. They showed her a mirror. She didn't recognize the face staring back. The police investigated. They counted the bodies in the fire. 7 victims, 7 identified. There was no 8th survivor on record. She was a ghost in the system, a woman who shouldn't have existed. How? I asked. How did they count 7 bodies if you survived? They identified my daughter. They showed me her body. I confirmed it was her. Sarah shook her head. I don't know. A mistake somewhere. A miscounting. Maybe the fire was so bad they couldn't tell the difference between 7 bodies and fragments of 6. Maybe someone else's remains were mixed with the count. I've spent years trying to figure it out. I even went to the county records office once. They told me the fire was so destructive that identification was mostly guesswork. Dental records, when available. Personal effects. They made assumptions. Assumptions that were wrong, I said. She nodded. I was pulled from the building by a firefighter who came in through a back entrance. He brought me out on the other side of the street, away from the main staging area. I was taken to a different hospital than the other victims because it was closer. Chicago General instead of Kalamazoo Medical. The records never connected. I sat back in my chair. My head was spinning. But how did you call me? I asked. Twice. From a disconnected phone number. You told me you were scared. You asked why I left you. She stared at me. Her face went pale again. I didn't call you, she said slowly. I don't even know your phone number. I didn't know you existed until you showed up at my door. Then who called me? We looked at each other. Neither of us had an answer. I pulled out my phone. I showed her the call log. 2 calls from Emma's old number. 4 minutes 18 seconds. 6 minutes 47 seconds. She stared at the screen. That number, she whispered. I know those digits. I don't know how, but I recognize them. They feel familiar. It was your number, I said. Your cell phone, the one you had when you were 23. She closed her eyes. She pressed her hands against her temples. I've been having dreams, she said. For weeks now. Dreams about a fire. Dreams about a man calling my name. Dreams about being trapped somewhere dark and cold, trying to reach someone who couldn't hear me. I wake up screaming sometimes. My husband thinks I'm having a breakdown. Maybe you were trying to reach me, I said, subconsciously. Some part of you that remembers. That doesn't explain how a disconnected phone number made calls, she said. No, it didn't. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside her window, snow started falling. Fat white flakes drifting past the glass. I need to know for sure, she finally said. I need proof. Do you have anything? Medical records? DNA? I thought of Emma's baby teeth, still saved in a small box at my apartment. I thought of her hairbrush that I'd kept for 18 years. I thought of all the pieces of her I couldn't bear to throw away. I have DNA, I said. We can test it. We can know for certain. She nodded. Then let's do it. I need to know who I am. I've been living as Sarah Mitchell for 18 years, but Sarah Mitchell is nobody. She has no childhood, no parents, no history before Christmas Day 2007. If I'm really Emma Patterson, if you're really my father. Her voice broke. I want to remember, she said. I want to know what I lost. We drove to a testing facility that afternoon, a private lab that promised results in 48 hours. We each gave a cheek swab. We filled out paperwork. The technician asked about our relationship. I said, daughter. She said, possibly. The technician didn't ask follow-up questions. Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. I stayed in Springfield. She insisted I stay at her apartment. Her husband was traveling for work, so there was room. We talked all night. I told her about her childhood. Her first steps, her first words, the time she fell off her bike and needed stitches, The time she saved a bird with a broken wing and nursed it back to health. The way she always wanted to be a nurse because she couldn't stand seeing anything suffer. She listened to every story. Sometimes she cried, sometimes she laughed. Sometimes a flicker of something crossed her face. Recognition, maybe. Or the ghost of a memory trying to surface. On the third morning, the lab called. The results were in. We drove together. She gripped the steering wheel so tight her knuckles went white. I sat in the passenger seat trying not to vomit. The technician met us in a small office. She held a folder in her hands. "The DNA comparison is complete," she said. "Based on the paternal markers we analyzed, the probability of biological relationship is 99.97%. She looked at both of us. "You are father and daughter." Sarah made a sound, a sob, a laugh, something between both. She turned to me with tears streaming down her face. "Daddy," she said. And this time the word wasn't tentative. It was certain, real. "I'm here," I said. "I've always been here, waiting for you." She threw her arms around me. We held each other in that sterile lab office while the technician quietly excused herself. My daughter was alive. The test proved it. Emma Rose Patterson did not die on Christmas Eve 2007. She survived. She lost her memory. She became someone else, but she was still mine. The days that followed were overwhelming. We contacted the authorities about the identification error from 18 years ago. We learned that the body I identified was likely another victim whose remains were too damaged for accurate identification. A young woman named Rebecca Torres, who had been visiting a friend in the building that night. She had no family looking for her, no one to notice the mistake. I arranged for proper identification of Rebecca's remains. I gave her a headstone with her real name. It was the least I could do. Emma, Sarah. She hadn't decided what name to use yet. She had spent 18 years as Sarah Mitchell. She had a husband who knew her as Sarah, a career as Sarah, a life as Sarah. But she was also Emma, my Emma. We took things slowly. She wasn't ready to remember everything at once. She asked me to bring photos. I brought albums full of her childhood. She looked at each picture for long minutes, searching for recognition. Some memories came back, small flashes. The smell of my wife's perfume, the taste of her grandmother's apple pie, the feeling of sand between her toes at Lake Michigan. But most of her past remained locked away. Her brain had built walls to protect itself from the trauma. Those walls didn't come down easily. Her husband flew home when she told him what happened. He was confused at first, then skeptical. Then, when he saw the DNA results and the photos, something in him softened. He held her hand and said he didn't care what name she used. She was still the woman he fell in love with. I liked him. He was good to her. He made her happy in the years she couldn't remember. That was enough. I returned to Grand Rapids after 2 weeks. Emma promised to visit. She promised we would rebuild what we lost. I believed her. For the first time in 18 years, I had something to believe in. The phone calls never happened again. Whatever had reached across the void to bring us together seemed satisfied. Its work was done. I still don't understand how a disconnected phone number made 2 calls in the middle of the night. I don't understand how my daughter's voice came through a line that had been dead for nearly 2 decades. I don't understand any of it, but I've stopped trying to explain it. Some things exist beyond logic, beyond science, beyond everything we think we know about how the world works. My daughter was lost. She was alone. Some part of her, buried deep beneath the amnesia, remembered me, remembered my phone number, remembered needing her father, and that part of her found a way to call me home. Last week, Emma came to Grand Rapids for Christmas. Her husband came too. We decorated a small tree in my apartment. We ate Chinese food because neither of us can cook. We exchanged presents. I gave her the silver heart necklace, the one I bought for her 18 Christmases ago, the one I never got to give her. She opened the box and went very still. "I know this," she whispered. "I've seen this before, in dreams." She put it on. Her hands trembled. "It fits," she said. "It was always meant for you," I told her. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Green eyes, her mother's eyes. "Thank you," she said, "for never giving up, for keeping my number, for answering the call. I held my daughter's hand. My wife's wedding ring still sat in a box on my dresser. My daughter was alive and sitting across from me. Grace would have been so happy. I lost 18 years with you, I said. But we have the rest of our lives. That has to be enough. She squeezed my hand. It's enough, she said. It's more than enough. Outside my window, snow fell on Grand Rapids. Christmas lights twinkled on the apartment building across the street. Somewhere in the distance, church bells rang. My daughter died in a fire 18 years ago. I mourned her. I scattered what I thought were her ashes. I visited that lake every year on the anniversary. But she wasn't gone. She was just lost, waiting for something to bridge the gap between us. Then she called me from beyond death, confused and scared, asking why I had left her. And I brought her home.